Welcome to worship with the Universalist Unitarian Church of Peoria. My name is the Reverend Innis. It is my great joy to be the minister with this congregation of people of all ages and at all stages of life. We are about living into our mission of growing in mind, body, and spirit, loving wholeheartedly, embracing freedom, and adding to the wholeness of the world. We embrace joy, we enrich connections, we encourage growth, and we empower dreams. And we take to heart our connection with the world. For this is the ancestral home of the Peoria people. They and other nations were here long before the first European settlers came down the Illinois River. And so we take a moment, as we've been asked to do in service, to recognize the Peoria people for who they were and for who they are today. I want to take a moment also to extend a welcome to folks who are joining us, whether you're here for the first time or you're checking us out a few times. It is no small thing to come into a community and say, I wonder what's here. I wonder if I could be here. I wonder if we could be here. So please say hello with the greeters and the ushers. We have plenty of name tags. Help us get to know you. And we love all the questions as well. And please stay after service for refreshments in Fellowship Hall, or if you're online, stay online for the Zoom conversation as well. I want to invite folks to check your devices at the moment to see if they are in worship mode, whether buzzy or silent. Thank you. And I have a few notes for today. After service today is the chance to assemble care kits for our unhoused neighbors. You want to see Jesse Laughlin for that. And please, it's all set up, but please wait until Jesse is there, until the children are there, so that everybody could do it together. That's about noon or so. Thank you. So get the coffee and then do the care kits. That's a good order. I want to point out we have a number of different programs coming up. Let me highlight that this coming Saturday is the Date with Death Club, because why not? So the Date with Death Club program, our next installment of that is this coming Saturday, the 22nd at 10 a.m. here at the congregation. And also, next Sunday afternoon is a cookie club with the Affirming Faith Communities youth. That will be at Imago Day. Is that at 3? 4? 3. 3 o'clock, yeah. So I really want to encourage youth to get to know each other from our open and affirming and welcoming congregations in the area. And some of these social events have been a great chance for folks to just kind of meet and get to know. Good for the youth, kind of good for the adults as well. So come on over. And I want to give a note that in a couple of weeks, on March 2nd, we'll have a financial update town hall conversation for the congregation. So I want to invite folks to that. Please be sure to stay after the service for an important update and to be part of the conversation, to know kind of how is our money doing at this point. And now let me invite Karen Zichterman up for a note about our auction, which is coming. The auction is coming. The auction is coming. March 22nd.
Good morning. My name is Karen Zichterman, and I am honored to be co-chairing this year's auction with Jean Sloan. We have a great team, and we are busy preparing for an extraordinary event. It's called A Time to Explore. We all remember previous events and the wonderful things that members have offered, such as dinners in their home, homemade pies, Nancy's strawberry rhubarb pie, pet sitting. Remember Joyce, her aunt, took care of our dog for 2 weeks once. We all want that. Yes, please. But also, can we explore? Can we boldly go to unexpected experiences or expertise to offer to our fellow church members? We'd like for you to explore your interests, your talents, your hobbies, to look for what you might share with others. Maybe something like taking a group on a tour of your favorite hiking trail or woodlands or wetlands and sharing what you love about it. Maybe sharing the experience of mourning on a family farm. Maybe leading a walking tour of an area that you know has hidden stories, art or architecture, or leading a small group in exploring the techniques of watercolor, collage, fabric art, jewelry making, flower arranging, vegan cooking. Or maybe going techie to share gaming tips, useful apps, or provide services to assist in the development for those of us seniors of computer survival skills. So many new areas for us to explore and learn about. Use the form that's in your order of service today. Describe your offering, turn it into the office or to Jean Sloan or me. Jean, wave your hand. There you go. And yes, please continue to offer the tried and the true that we all look forward to. Shared meals in each other's homes, freshly baked treats, home and yard services, childcare, but also be creative and explore some new, bold ideas. Thank you.
I really appreciate the sharing of skills, elements of the auction. I think last time my daughter and I had a chance to sit with Terry Malone and Sandy Meskimen for some watercolor. That was just an excellent hour, very well spent. All right. And now let me invite folks to rise in body or spirit for our opening hymn, number 346. Come sing a song with me in the gray hymnal if you like the music.
The opening words this day are Bring Your Broken Hallelujah Here by Reverend Julian Jamaica Sota. And I love these words. I hope you do too. Bring your broken hallelujah here. Bring the large one that is beyond repair. Bring the small one that is too soft to share. Bring your broken hallelujah here. I know that people have told you before that you can give. Before you can give, you have to get yourself together. They overstated the value of perfection by a lot. Or they forgot. You are the gift. We will all bring some broken things, songs and dreams and long lost hopes. But here and together, we reach within. As a community, we begin again. And from the pieces, we will build something new. There is work that only you can do. We wait for you.
And let me invite the Franklin family forward for our chalice lighting.
Good morning. Today's chalice lighting is for each and for all by the Reverend Eric Walker Wickstrom. We light this chalice for all who are here and all who are not, for all who have ever walked through our doors, for those who may yet find this spiritual home, and for those we can't even yet imagine. For each of us and for us all, may this flame burn warm and bright.
Let us listen deeply to what is on our hearts. Let us listen to what our fears are. Let us listen to the young children. Let us listen to the teens. Let us listen to the elders. Let us listen when the world is sick. Let us listen. We enter into our time of reflection. You are welcome to come forward during the music for meditation and light candles. Add to the embrace and light of the circle of care. And for those who are online, I invite you to let these candles be for you. So let us now enter into our music for meditation. From the Reverend Susan Manker Seal. Much of ministry is a benediction, speaking well of each other and the world, speaking well of what we value: honesty, love, forgiveness, trust, speaking well of our efforts, speaking well of our dreams. And this is how we celebrate life, through speaking well of it, living the benediction, and becoming as a word well spoken. This is the time for the sharing of the joys and sorrows of the congregation. I want to begin with a note of joy uh, for everyone who was part of creating the Love Wins Valentine's dinner on Friday night. Yes, 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 yes. It was a spectacular success, and the snowy, slippery roads did not dampen our spirits. In fact, it was great to be warm and having a great time in the midst of all that snow and ice. Katie Jones and a cast of thousands created a fantastic event. I want to thank also, Katie did a great job of thanking folks, but there were so many very generous donations of food, of items for auction, of support. That was great by itself, and people were also very generous in making additional donations to support the work of PFLAG. It was just fantastic. And I also want to add a special extra note to all the people who were in the kitchen, making the food happen and then cleaning up the kitchen afterwards. Oh my goodness, that was a task. That was huge by itself. And we'll set up a drive for, if you took photos, please send them to the church office. You can send them to a church office directly, but we'll create a folder for those where you can share those as well. And I want to offer a note of appreciation for folks who were very kind in offering condolences for the death of my father, Chuck Innis, about a week and a half ago. I will be traveling for his memorial service at the end of March. I was able to be in Massachusetts this past week and did get home despite the snow that came through then, too. Now, the caring committee was very thoughtful and asked about where to send donations in his memory. I'll put this into the Friday news as well, but my brothers and I had a nice chance to talk about this, and we're wanting donations to go to the Unitarian Universalist Church of Worcester, where we all grew up, and to the Richards Memorial Library in the small town of Paxton, where I grew up. My dad was on the board of trustees, like literally had a key to the library for like 40 years, like from about a month after they moved to the town. And it was something near and dear to his heart. And as I said, I'll add that to the Friday news entirely. I appreciate the caring committee for asking, and it's just very thoughtful just to have that invitation. In our larger world, I'm going to talk about this a little bit during the sermon as well. In our larger world, of all the things I could remark on, I want to remark on this for now. That on the National Park Service website, how they removed any recognition of the transgender folks from the Stonewall Memorial. The riots and the protests at the Stonewall Bar in 1969 led to the first Pride March and the beginning of the gay rights movement, and trans folks were the catalysts for starting that protest against police raids and the police treatment of people. And Sylvia Rivera and Marsha P. Johnson were at the forefront of that for trans women who were people of color. And so we must not let an attempt at erasure change the record of what we know is true. I invite us to take one more moment in shared quiet. Let this circle expand to include all the names, all the milestones, all the joys and the sorrows that are with us, whether spoken or silent. Let us hold one more moment together and breathe. Amen. Shalom. Salam. And blessed be. And now I invite Jesse forward for our story.
I have some help today. Our story today is Everybody's Welcome by Patricia Hegarty and illustrated by Greg Abbott. In the forest clearing, there is a little mouse. He's dreaming of a future in a great, big, happy house. And suddenly, a frog appears with a sorry tale of woe. My pond, my home is all dried up. I have no place to go. Froggy, please don't worry. You can stick with me. Everything will be all right. Just you wait and see. Let us build a home together. We'll make it big and strong. And once we get it started, you won't be sad very long. For everyone is welcome, no matter who they are, wherever they may come from, whether near or far. Please help us, called a rabbit. An eagle chased us from our home. Do you have any room to spare? Why, everyone is welcome. If you need a place to hide, come and help us build this house. You will be safe inside. Some of us can form a chain and work as a team. We will build a shelter stick by stick, following our dream. I'm all alone, cried Big Bear. Big Bear. With teardrops in his eyes, I frighten everybody with my great big size. Oh, come along and join us. A great big guy like you is just what we've been missing. There's so much for you to do. Everyone is welcome. We all can play our part. Look at Big Brown Bear. He's already made a start. And flapping and fluttering, a flock of birds arrive. Someone has chopped down our tree. How will we survive? Well, if we all work together, There is no task too great. Even if some of our helpers arrive a little late. Sorry, I'm late. Boop. And Tippy. And soon the news will spread for miles and miles around of what we are building. A home safe and sound. And as the rain clouds gather in a dark and stormy sky, the animals keep building a roof to keep them dry. Our home will be so happy, and we'll fill it up with song, and everyone who lives here will know that they belong. I wonder what this story reminds you of. It reminds me of what we're building here. And all of you are welcome. I invite the kids and volunteers to join me for religious education.
We give to remind ourselves how many gifts we have to offer. We give to remember that we are part of something bigger than ourselves. We give because we believe in music and sacred space and fantastic stories. We give with the faith that together we have enough. And we also send a portion of our resources into the world through our Share the Plate practice. Each week, we set aside half the undesignated plate for an organization that is doing really good work in Peoria. And for this month, our Share the Plate recipient is Peoria Proud. They support diversity and equity throughout the greater Peoria area. They create safe spaces for lesbian, gay, bisexual, transgender, queer, questioning, intersex, asexual plus folks. Hosting River City Pride Festival and advocating for positive legislation, safe zone training, and much more. And it is great to be in partnership and to be supporting this good work, especially in this time. Again, half the undesignated plate goes to Peoria Proud this month. Please use the envelopes in the pews to indicate the use of your donation. Go to the QR code in the order of service to make an online donation. And I want to thank everybody for your very generous and very kind support of this congregation, financially, of your time, of your talent, all the ways that we live into making this work and this mission possible. We cannot do it without every single one of us. Thank you. And now I invite the ushers to please come forward.
I'm Jennifer Stubbs, and I'm reading It's Hard Work by Rosemary Bray McNatt, Reverend. For just as the body without the spirit is dead, faith without works is also dead. James chapter 2, verse 26. Why are we still talking about inclusivity and diversity when we have done so little to make them real? Why are we still looking pained about the lack of diversity in the denomination? Because diversity, inclusivity is terribly hard, terribly uncomfortable, definitely unsettling, and often quite frustrating. What I know about being inclusive, crossing from culture to culture, learning the language of diversity, is that it's the work of a lifetime. It's hard to accept people who are not like you, who don't talk the way you do, or believe the things you believe, or dress or vote as you do. It's even harder to appreciate them for the things about them that are not like you, to find them interesting or fun, to enjoy the learning that's part of the experience, and to acknowledge, finally, that you may have to agree to disagree. The truth is this: if there is no justice, there will be no peace. We can read Thoreau and Emerson to one another, quote Rilke and Howard Thurman, and think good and noble thoughts about ourselves. But if we cannot bring justice into the small circle of our own individual lives, we cannot hope to bring justice to the world. And if we do not bring justice to the world, none of us is safe. None of us will survive. Nothing that Unitarian Universalists need to do is more important than making justice real, here, where we are. Hard as diversity is, it is our most important task. From Been in the Storm So Long.
Our second reading is from the Reverend Julian Jamaica Soto. Reverend Julian is one of our trans and disabled ministers, and is a fantastic poet and a voice. And they say, to be free, you must embrace the breadth of your existence without apology, even if they try to take it from you. You must know not that you can do whatever you want. You are not a kudzu vine eating entire hillsides for the purpose of feeding your own lush life. You must know instead that inside you are entire universes of milky blue and magenta and gold expanding. But to actually be free, you must know and you must fight for the entire universe is inside everyone else. Being free is not a license, but a promise. Here ends the reading. I invite you to rise in body or spirit and join me for our hymn number 1053, How Could Anyone, in the Teal Hymnal. Please be seated. So I want to begin with a few questions, because if the topic is inclusion, every one of us has wisdom and experience and perspective. And I also recognize that in this kind of asking a question in the moment, in the service, is a very short form response format. And not everyone thinks in this way. Not everybody thinks in a way that lends itself to immediate response. That is fine. Just listen if that is best for you. And you're welcome to come to me later. I'd love to hear your thoughts. So we begin. When have you felt welcomed? When have you felt welcomed? If something comes to mind, you want to shout it out, I'll repeat it for the microphone. Just something brief. When have you felt welcomed? When you came here. Thank you, Tim. Tim is one of our best publicity kind of guys, so thank you. When someone greeted you personally. It doesn't have to be just church, it's okay. When have you felt truly welcomed? Oh, when you walk towards this building, there are native plants instead of turf. So the landscape is part of the welcome. Ooh, thank you, Joe. Going home to see grandma. Oh, yeah. When someone remembers your name. Mm-hmm. Good. All right. Okay. Now, if you're someone who's had a chance to host something, to invite someone, to prepare a space for people you may or may not know, just offer that. Have you done that, and have you enjoyed that process? Now, some of us, it strikes fear in the heart of us to do that, and I understand that. For some of us, I think the hosting is something of a joy. Is that the case? And when have you kind of felt joy in welcoming people in? Tim? When you've hosted 12 foreign exchange students. Thank you. Okay, that one needs a little bit more thought. That's okay. Teaching classes. Great. When you've had your international students over for a meal or taking them along with you somewhere. Mhm. Well, I think these invitations for the auction and dinners or teas or so on, that's all part of that kind of work, getting ready to receive people. Now, I acknowledge that the act of hosting or the act of hospitality, the work of that, is sometimes we don't think of quite everything, and that's okay. I think of hospitality as kind of a work in progress. It is a constant practice. And some days, hospitality, sometimes making an invitation, is just doing the best we can, but still recognizing another and saying, please come in. Now, but let me ask the bigger question. I want to ask the bigger question, which is, why do we welcome? Like, why do we invite people in? Why do we do this work? Why do we put ourselves out there to say, please come on in? You know, why does the church say all are welcome? We have a greeter team. We say, you know, we encourage people to invite their friends and neighbors. Come on over to church. But why do we welcome? Like, why do we do that in the first place? Jean. Ooh. We're not we're not alone in the world, and when we meet each other, we reinforce each other. To share. Mhm. Yes, sir. Yep. It sucks to be alone. Nice to have company. There we go. Put it simply. Yes, Joe. I'm sorry? Strength in numbers. There we go. Yes, Bill. Better together. Now, I want to admit, we must be forthright here, we try, that there is a certain degree of self interest for the sake of uh, in doing well with greeting and doing well with invitation and welcoming people in. There is a certain degree of self interest for the sake of preserving the existence of the congregation. We need flow of people. Any religious body needs a certain flow of visitors and guests who might decide they want to stay and become members and become part of the congregation and contribute and enlarge the circle of care. But I will offer at the very much also that the numbers are not the point. I mean, people love to see a sanctuary with a lot of people. I mean, let me not underestimate that. But the numbers is not actually the point. It's what was said in the course of this, the people and the relationships and what emerges from being together. That is the point. I so appreciate the note from Christian scripture that says, wherever two or three are gathered, there is a living of purpose and hope and love, wherever two or three are gathered. It was a good thing to remember in all those days of Zoom only conversations, right? When we were asynchronous and dispersed and couldn't be with one another, two or three was worth the effort. It is always worth the effort. And part of what's also in that effort is the readiness, the preparing of the space. If we understand that that connection, that providing the invitation, that providing the welcome connects us and energizes us, then we work towards being able to do so, to being available whenever a person needs a moment or a space. I so appreciate how much care goes into the existence of this building, for example, and the care of it, the cleaning of it, the design of it, and much more. Because I believe the church should always be available as a sanctuary. It should always be available as a place to pause and breathe. It is one of the most powerful services that we can offer into the world is being such a space. And how much we need such spaces now. Spaces where there is not actually that much expectation, where you're simply invited to be. Because you and I and our neighbors and our friends, the people we don't even know, are holy and whole people simply as we and they are. Because in this moment, our essential humanity and our right to exist is under attack. In this moment, simply creating space and saying yes and inviting people in is a revolutionary act because we recognize the humanity and the dignity of every person. The work that has gone into this effort of humanity and care and mutuality in our society is far broader than we realize. There is a certain benefit from all of this attack on diversity, equity, and inclusion. There is a certain benefit to say, how does this impact our lives? How has this been showing up in our lives that we feel the absence when these things are pulled. How important it has been to have grants and education and the arts all under the umbrella of diversity, equity, and inclusion efforts, to be recruiting from historically Black colleges and universities, to develop science and technology, engineering, and math programs that encourage students from racially diverse, low economic resources areas. I mean, that work alone, just simply creating STEM resources and having access to it from the whole range of the Peoria area is in this moment, is happening on this small scale. I've got to see it when my son was part of the Destination Technology program in partnership with Caterpillar to encourage interest in engineering. It's an extracurricular program that includes a tour of the engineering programs at the University of Illinois. And my son had a chance to participate. It's simply open to children, to students who seem to have an aptitude and an interest in engineering related programs. And the students who attend, when I had a chance to drop him off, the students who attend really reflect the entire racial spread of Peoria. And simply having access to taking a college tour, that by itself is a phenomenal resource for so many of our families who couldn't possibly afford to make that happen by themselves. This diversity and this equity and this inclusion is deeply intertwined, deeply interrelated across race and economy and ability and class and all the stations. This reactivity to this, what has been in place and what has been growing for so many decades in our country, is an effort to sweep away resources and mechanisms and education for, say, including women in professional life, for giving jobs to veterans. Boy, I hope the veterans really get loud about that scene. For providing access to education for folks with different learning abilities and different physical disabilities, and so much more. That's just having this conversation about the impact of diversity, equity, and inclusion shows how much more has been done in our institutions, how much has already been in place, even as we have so much more to do. So I want to invite us beyond this moment to keep going into that deeper dive into diversity, equity, and inclusion to really understand what those mean. And not let those who would upend language and effort and pervert diversity, pervert it and only define it in terms of literally black and white, and not let it be reduced to the code word of DEI. Be curious and say, why wouldn't you want to be more fair with people? Why not include people? Why not be more diverse? This is who is here. Not let those who would narrow the world and limit who is a valid person and who can vote. Why I so appreciate this concept of welcome and inclusion and invitation. And I want to share one of the ones I know better from the Western Christian teachings. And I want to, which is partially the way of St. Benedict a little bit. And I want to speak to this core Christian teaching as a way to give language to counter what is being perpetrated in Jesus' name and in the name of Christian nationalism. We don't let the people define the terms. We are keeping the terms that are also true and rich and not exclusive. Now, the way of St. Benedict is founded on hospitality, being able to receive weary travelers day or night. And it's based on Jesus' call to love your neighbors, to understand the holy is present in every person. In recent years, people have really embraced one of the books, Radical Hospitality, Benedict's Way of Love by Father Daniel Hoffman and Lonnie Collins Pratt. That book by itself is a gentle and human conversation and narrative, and it raises good questions about our attitudes and our readiness to receive. And I also appreciate one of the pieces I remember from that, reading that book way back in the beginning of divinity school, in fact, was part of the point was that, well, one of the stories included that the monk who was helping, the monk that was providing some service to those who were traveling and needing kind of late night, something to eat and some place to sleep, that the monk who was helping wasn't actually all that happy about it. Like the monk was a little bit grumpy and a little bit put out and a little bit inconvenienced. And, they weren't trying to not say that. They were doing what they should have been doing. They were doing what they were committed to. But, the person telling the story could tell that the monk wasn't like in a very good mood. And I want to offer that as saying the effort of the inclusion, the effort of invitation, doesn't always expect that we are always going to be in a good mood about it either. That we always don't have to just put on the happy face. Like we don't have to be false in our emotions, but just committed to the act and committed to being as generous as we can be in the moment, even when we are in fact really grumpy and really upset and having a hard time. That there is value in simply following that practice of welcome. Part of what the point of the hospitality is in this effort of inclusion is to shift what is happening, to change what's going on. It is about disruption. Ryan Dunn, Minister of Online Engagement with the United Methodist Church, talks about disruption. He says we could use more disruptions. I know that might be the last thing you want to hear on a Sunday morning, is more disruption. But he says we could use more disruptions because of how we see people being treated, how children are treated when they're at the border, how food insecurity, and much more. He says we need to let go of a need to shape people to our own image. We extend radical hospitality when we include people within a community without the expectation that they will fully conform to it. And we may even concede some of our community identity in order to be more hospitable to those whom we welcome. Radical hospitality sends a message beyond you are welcome to join us, come in and be like us. It says we see you and we want to join you wherever you are. He says radical hospitality doesn't just ask, do you want to be with us? It says, how can we be with you? And I think that's where this conversation about inclusion is so rich. It's not simply about how do we prepare the space to welcome people in, which is essential, but also how can we adapt the space to make it easier for people to be wherever they are and who they are. One of those examples is we had a member who really needed a scent-free zone, for example, and we have that in our sanctuary. And that didn't solve all the challenges that this member had in coming to church in person and so on. It was tough for a lot of different reasons for them to come, but they knew they had a spot and a safe place. And other people, when they come in, can also say, oh, if I need that, I can go there. So we changed a little bit to do that. So we're really trying to create spaces that are more welcoming, not just for our own benefit, not just because it's a good idea, but because we want to be really changed by each other. And we recognize the benefit of the range of humanity around us in doing so. We want to create a space that welcomes folks who are lesbian, gay, bisexual, transgender, queer, and questioning. We want a space that is more physically accessible. We want a space that is more accessible for folks who are neurodivergent, who have a hard time navigating social spaces. All of that understanding, every time we make a little effort for that, is part of the disruption, a part of what shifts our lives as well. Those of us here get to think about other people's needs, and that is inclusion in process. How do I think about people is transformed when I commit to being part of someone else's story rather than only operate from my own. In the readings, Reverend Rosemary Bray McNatt speaks about diversity in Unitarian Universalism and how it has been a challenge for so long. And she does so from a place of experience. She's been UU all her life. She is a Black woman in our tradition. She has been in leadership. She is fantastic and generous in person. And that piece, it's hard work, is from a collection of works from Black UUs from decades ago. And the concern is no less relevant. The work is no less real and ongoing. And we keep practicing. We keep making the effort. We keep wondering, even when we know there's certain areas where we really are challenged, especially with the racial diversity. We keep making that commitment to working on it again and again. And let the disruption of how we think and how we remember and how we act change us. I do need to say something about the National Park Service and the Stonewall Memorial. Erasure of trans folks from that website is erasure of history. I went to the website and checked it out. I'd seen what people had said, but I went to the website myself and saw that there's an L and a G and a B, and there's no T. There's no T anywhere. And this is, in fact, erasure because the part of the whole movement was happening because of folks who are Black, Indigenous, and people of color, of trans women who are at the core of the protests against police raids, who were doing good work, taking care of the queer youth who had no place to turn in that community, who were entirely impoverished. Marsha P. Jackson, Sylvia Rivera, they were there doing this work. They need to be part of that history and part of that recognition. And I'll say, here's a little thing that I did this morning before I came to church, which was I went to going to the site, the National Park Service site. At the bottom of the site says, was this information helpful? Yes or no? And I clicked no and added a comment, history needs to include trans people. It's a little thing, but there are things to disrupt what's going on. The work continues. The work truly goes on. And all of it matters. All of it helps. We have a task of holding on to what's already been learned, what's already been known and developed and put into place as much as possible. Sandy Stone, I think a queer artist, was talking about we have out trans people in public office. We have trans medicine. We have trans scholarships. We have trans attorneys. We're not going away. And this is true for all of the people impacted by the removal of diversity, equity, and inclusion programs that are happening right now. It counts for everybody, everybody. The work of inclusion is sacred work that we can allow to transform us because it doesn't leave us where we started. Rather, we get the chance to do everything in our power to create safer spaces, to hold to what we know is true about the range of human expression and their experience of life, and to be open to what we can learn from one another. As my colleague, the Reverend Julian Jamaica Soto says, to be free, you must embrace the breadth of your own existence without apology, even if they try to take it from you. To actually be free, you must know and you must fight for the entire universes inside everyone else. To fight for the entire universes inside everyone else. This is our sacred work This is our practice of inclusion. So let us go forward and continue to create such spaces of promise for ourselves and for each other. Amen. Please rise in body or spirit. For our closing hymn, number 407, we're going to sit at the welcome table.
Here and Beyond These Walls by Craig Rowland. As we extinguish this chalice flame, may the warmth of its light remain within us, guiding our steps and our hearts. Let us carry forward the strength of this community, the courage to speak truth, and the hope that transformation is possible. In each breath we take, may we remember that the work of love, justice, and healing is ours to continue, both here and beyond these walls. Go in peace with the light of this gathering to illuminate your way.
May you be invited to the party. May you be asked to dance. May you be amazed to learn that your own precious heart already knows and leaps to the song. And in this moment, whirling in the expansive affirmation of all creation, an embodiment of the divine's boundless love, may you turn and face the door, arms outstretched to sing in wide welcome the ever-changing song of togetherness to those who have yet to discover that they too belong here. Our worship is ended. Let our service begin.